There's absolutely nothing I haven't done, up to and including murder. I didn't put a gun to anybody's head, but I drove the car that killed my best friend in a drunk driving accident. I was basically born into addiction. My mother was I don't want to say an alcoholic, but she was a drunk. So I remember being in the bars as a little girl with her. And my mother met a man that would become my stepdad. And monsters became real at 4 years old. I was molested by my stepdad until I was 9. I was 9 years old before I realized that everyone's dad wasn't like mine. When I spent the night at a friend's house from school, and bedtime at her house was a lot different than mine. I hated my stepdad. I hated him. And I didn't want to be around him. And so I found every opportunity to be away from the house. At 16, I was given a choice, him or someone else, and so I thought my chances on the street were better than they ever were at home, and I took that chance. And quit school, had no education. I was 16 years old. I was a prostitute. I lived in prostitution and drug addiction from 16 to 40. When I was 31, I got pregnant with my first son. By the time I was 35, I was pregnant with my second son. But it didn't change me. It didn't change my addiction. I just thought that I was invincible and I could do what I want. When they were 4 and 8, the Jasper County Drug Task Force kicked in my doors, and they took the only 2 people in the world that ever loved me unconditionally. Rock bottom was when they took my children. Because I always swore if I had ever had a chance to be a mother, I was never going to be. My children were never going to go through what I went through. And at that moment, I just felt, you're no better than anything that's ever been done to you. Because I did exactly what I swore I'd never do, and it was put my children through misery. I came home from work one night, and I just felt like my life was a total train wreck. It was a train wreck. I remember my house being so empty, and I felt like there was no hope. And I remember trying to go up the stairs and falling at the bottom of the staircase and using it as an altar and crying out to God. And I told God at that point, I said, I got nothing. I got nothing. And I surrendered my life that night, and I told God if I had to serve him from prison, because that's where I deserved to spend the rest of my life, or if I had to serve him from the streets because I had nowhere to go, I was going to serve him. And I really felt God speak to me and say, now I can use you. And I'm going to use every vile thing that's ever happened in your life to touch the lives of other women. And that's what he does today. We have a recovery program, and it's a women's ministry where we lead people to Christ and show them their worth. We take women that have been homeless, abused, addicted, off the streets, out of prison, out of jail. Women who, just like myself, they don't have any stories. They don't have good memories, and we're helping them to build good memories. The last 12 years of my life has been the best 12 years of my life, knowing Christ. The relief of being forgiven, wow, that was huge. Because it was more than just falling at that step that night and crying out to God and saying, you know what, Lord, my life is a mess and I need help. I think there were several months, and maybe still today, that I find myself going back and crying out for that forgiveness. I should be in prison the rest of my life or standing at the gates of hell, and I'm not. And I know I should be. I've killed people. I've hurt people. I've ruined marriages. And yet I can still come before the throne of grace and wash his feet with my tears, dry him with my hair, and he still loves me.